So any questions you have, fire them in and we'll answer them.
Indeed, and Drifter88, he's in our live chat room and he wants us to comment on the Hart Dynasty. He'd like to know why they're being so underused at the moment.
Yeah, I just don't think they're that well over, to be honest with you, at the moment. And the reason being, in my opinion, is the lack of a serious tag team division in WWE. And how is a tag team like that supposed to shine when you're up against R-Truth and John Morrison, the team of, or your mishmash teams of Matt Hardy and MVP, or it's just relentless, horrible, awful booking, and they need to sort out a tag division quickly.
Indeed, they need to do something with the tag teams, and the Hart Dynasty they are not doing the best. They were on the bad end of a loss this week, which we'll talk more about as we talk about the rest of this week's Wrestling TV programming. And certainly there is plenty to talk about tonight. We're going to move on now to ROH, Ring of Honor this week, and as well as letting you know what happened on HD Net, we're also going to find out what the card is looking like so far for that Big Bang pay-per-view taking place on the 3rd of April in Charlotte, North Carolina. Ring of Honor building more and more now, and it's certainly been a lot of fun checking it out and finding out what's good and what's bad.
Yeah, another great week from Ring of Honor, and I had it taped and watched it actually again after SmackDown, and it's just refreshing would be the word after 2 hours of SmackDown to watch Ring of Honor, and another great show, and some more developments with the TV title. We're kind of into the last few brackets to find out who the first Ring of Honor TV champion is going to be. So good TV, interesting stuff.
Ring of Honor on HD Net. Briscoe brothers, and they cut a promo on the Kings, and they really tore it up with that North Kakalaki accent. It was fantastic. Great, real legit guys.
Yeah, they are kind of scary, actually, those Briscoe brothers. I definitely did notice that accent thing as well. They kind of actually sound like a couple of gangsters, like these, real gangsters. And I was like, Jesus, I wouldn't mess with the Briscoe brothers.
It certainly was one that stood out. In fact, it stood out more than that first match. Eddie Edwards and Colt Cabana in the ring together. Of course, Eddie Edwards part of that tag team. What's those guys' name again?
American Wolves, right?
The American Wolves, and indeed I've always found them to be really legit and great. Certainly Motor City Machine Guns times 10 I've been quoted as saying before. Colt Cabana, of course, was recently in WWE, now back in Ring of Honor, probably a bit more comfortable there than he was under the guise of Scotty Goldman, was it?
Yeah, that was a big flunk, the whole Scotty Goldman thing. He's better off in somewhere like Ring of Honor or maybe TNA. Once he's holding on to his Colt Cabana gimmick, he's best at that. Sometimes a little overkill on the comedy, but definitely a lot more entertaining than the Scotty Goldman gimmick, if you can call it that. But Eddie Edwards, I like Eddie Edwards, and I think we want to watch for this title coming into the last couple of rounds of the tournament. And I didn't think Cabana would not so much job to Eddie, but he put him over, and Eddie Edwards is going forward, so one to watch, definitely Eddie Edwards.
Eddie Edwards on his way in Ring of Honor, and both those guys very impressive. Great match and lots of action as always in Ring of Honor. You never have a boring show, really. It's always going to entertain a wrestling fan. You're never certainly going to be left looking at the screen wondering why you even watch it. It isn't comedic stuff, it's legit stuff.
Yeah, it is, and it's keeping me really entertained. And even the matches now, I find myself looking forward to Mr. Wrestling Kevin Steen going up against Eddie Edwards in the last round of those brackets on that side of the TV tournament. And again, it's a match I want to see. It's not, there's not a lot of stuff on SmackDown that I say, yeah, I want to see that. Or Sometimes on other WWE shows, but yeah, Ring of Honor, good stuff again.
Ring of Honor had Cornette in the ring calling out Sean Daivari. Now, Daivari has signed with Ring of Honor, and it looks like he's going to be a force going forward. We know that Sean has recently departed TNA, and not probably on the best of terms, because really towards the end he wasn't being used all that often.
Yeah, I like Sean Daivari, and I like Sanjay Dutt too. I think he's absolutely great, and he was very underused. But getting back to Daivari, it was very well done, dropping the whole terrorist gimmick and saying that he was a professional wrestler, not a terrorist, and that was his main thing. And the best way to build him is have someone like Cornette in there, and you heard him doing the digs with TNA and WWE too, actually. So he's in the right place, and I think it's a good place for him to develop at what he's best at.
We're talking about the show on HDNet, and indeed it's one that had Sean Daivari coming out with Cornette. And as you say there, Sean Daivari trying very hard to become more and more legit in people's eyes. He doesn't want to be seen as a sports entertainment performer. He wants to be seen as a guy from America with no gimmicks, none of this chic business, none of this terrorist stuff, just a guy who can wrestle.
Yeah, I think he must think that, and probably has in a sense, ruined what he's best at, having, been stuck with a gimmick. You've heard him so many times over the years, and I think he was definitely one. Even when you see him without the, what do you call those things?
The headdress is all I could say.
The headdress and stuff like that. Even when he's in the ring and he's performing, that gimmick still hangs over him, and it's hard to kind of think anything else. But he needs to. I think he needed to drop it and be taken seriously, because he's really good.
He cut a very interesting and engaging promo. It always makes me think when a guy makes me think, and I hear his promo and perhaps listen to it, because so often it just goes in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, and I think Cornette's a lot to do with that, definitely, because anyone cutting a promo around him, for some reason, it's interesting, and you can kind of, I think you can kind of tell that Cornette's had some influence on it, because he is the king of the promo. And Daivari's going to be a lot better than he's going to be a lot better off in Ring of Honor than TNA and WWE, without a doubt. Yeah, I thought the match was good. I like this Kyle O'Reilly guy. Some really good moves. His kind of mat wrestling stuff's really good, and I think he knows how to hold on to his opponent and break him down big time. Those neck suplexes looked pretty rough, I have to say. So yeah, good man, Kyle O'Reilly. He caught my attention.
Certainly, Ring of Honor moved on with Davey Richards defeating Delirious, and of course with Delirious you had that Daisy Hayes, which is a really great female indie wrestler.